Shut up and sit down.
I was like, what am I saying?
Hey guys, it's Zach from Pro Gym here. Today, I just wanted to run through a couple of different stances and positions to help add some variety to your accessory movements and help you get some more control over your ribcage and pelvis. The two stances I'd like to go through are a tall kneeling and a half kneeling stance. Now both of these stances can be applied to your pressing and your rowing, and they help encourage some stability through your midsection and get a bit more range of motion out of your shoulder and your shoulder blade. So the first stance I want to go through is a half kneeling stance, as Dakota is chilling in right now. So with a half kneeling stance, there's a few key things you want to look for. First off, you want the front knee to be at about 90 degrees, and the back knee to be about 90 degrees as well. You want the back toe planted to add a bit more stability. Dakota, if you put that foot flat on the floor, you can see she'll be a little bit more wobbly already. Just having that back foot planted just keeps you a bit more stable. A few other things to look out for is plant this front foot nice and firm and pretend to drag it back to find a bit of hamstring. So if you drag that foot back, you can see her hamstring turn on, which helps stabilize her pelvis. Lastly, all you want to do is, in a previous video we described what tucking of the pelvis was. If you haven't watched that, go back through our IGTV and check it out. But Dakota just wants to tuck her pelvis under to keep it underneath her ribcage. Perfect. Now we'll have a look at the half kneeling stance applied to a simple row. As you can see, Dakota has her front foot planted, that hamstring is on, her back foot is planted, and her pelvis is tucked under. Now the most important thing when thinking through a row is you don't want your sternum to move side to side as you go. Can you just let the band pull you forward and twist your sternum towards me? That's not what we want. We want to keep her ribcage stacked over her pelvis and keep that whole midsection stable. All you want is that arm to be pulled forward by the band, getting a nice reach through her shoulder blade. The way we want to breathe when we're running through these rows is a nice big breath in the stretched position. Breath in, good. And then rowing back towards your hip. So you want to think that the row is not so much straight back, but back and down. So another big breath in, and then a hard exhale as you come through, back and down. As you can see, Dakota isn't extending much past the line of her body. If you bring that shoulder a bit further back, she kind of starts to look like a chicken wing, her chest pokes out, and she loses that stack. You just want to stop that arm just about in line with your body. Secondly, I'd like to go through a tall kneeling stance. So similar to the half kneeling, but you're supported on both knees instead of having your stance staggered. As you can see, her toes are planted firmly on the floor, and her hips are tucked nicely under the rib cage. You don't want to extend your rib cage over your pelvis because you lose that stack, and you can see her back's gone into a bit of a sway back position. You want those rib cages back and down and that pelvis underneath with her glutes squeezed nice and tight. In this tall kneeling stance, I want Dakota to demonstrate for you a tall kneeling shoulder press. So if she gets those dumbbells into the start position, as you can see, her rib cage is stacked over her pelvis, her toes are planted, and all I want her to do is press straight up overhead. What you want to try your best to do is, in this top position, have the wrists over the elbows over the shoulders. You don't want them hanging out in front of your body, like that. Go up and do another rep please, straight up. As you can see, keeping that stacked position of the rib cage helps those shoulder blades move a little more freely. Also, what you don't want to do is, if you crank that rib cage out, you don't want to turn this into a strange flat bench press kind of scenario. So you can do a few reps like that. As you can see, she's lost that tuck of the pelvis, and as she comes forward, her rib cage protrudes more and more. This just decreases the movement opportunities for that shoulder blade. There you have it guys, that's just a bit of a run through about half kneeling and tall kneeling stances. Now these aren't exclusive to the movements that I showed you just then. You can do rows in tall kneeling and presses in half kneeling. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you guys next time.